whoever has them, bring them forth, please.
What page are we on? I'm sorry.
We're on page 5 and 6, revenue. We're talking about, we had more of this, we
Just a
better
couple.
shape, wouldn't we?
Just a couple of overall comments. You can see two things here. One, the impact of the increase in the taxable value and holding the same millage rate. You see the extra $165,000 and right at the top of the page in tax revenue. A number of these estimates come from the state of Florida, and as of the time we put this book together, they had not prepared those estimates for the coming year, and those would be local option gas tax, communication services tax, the state revenue sharing, and the half-cent sales tax. They've released a few of them as of Friday, and almost all of them are at least a slight improvement. So when we go to the final public hearing, you'll see the numbers provided by the state here, and they'll actually improve the situation a little bit. And then over the course of the last 2 or 3 years since we got here, there were certainly a number of areas where I think the general fund revenues were a little optimistic. And so over the years, we've kind of dialed those back into having, I think, more of a legitimate basis. And just as a note for the past fiscal year, the last audited fiscal year, we had projected in our original budget revenues of $13,113,000, and at the end of the day, we took in $13,102,000. So at the bottom of $13 million, we were off by $8,000. So I think we've done a good job of getting a little more realistic with the various elements. The other thing, though, and I know the mayor wants to address this, because we rolled the Recreation Department into the general fund, it was really important to the Rec Commission that we not obscure the revenues that were coming directly as a result of the Recreation Department. And therefore, all these new revenue items that you see anywhere it's associated with recreation, it's labeled as such: Recreation Department income, recreation concessions and rentals. Even though we may have a rental line for general stuff, we included a separate line for recreation revenues, so you can see that distinctly as compared to the cost of that department. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
As far as the recreation goes, it's something of a cause célèbre with me. I believe very much in recreation, as I'm sure we all do. But this is my third time in City Council and once on the finance, and all of those times and participating in the Recreation Commission and so on, we have consistently over budgeted and had higher expectations. And I don't think that does us any good. But to take the Recreation Department income, which is partway down the page, of $397,000, this year's projected is $342. But if you straight line it, it really is $290 at this point in time. And if you look at it in 11 and 13, or 11 and 12, it was $349. And 10 and 11, it was $360. We are never going to do $397. It's $40,000 or $50,000 higher than it's ever going to be. And I don't. Let's realize. Let's give them a budget they can do. Now, they've worked hard in raising, and we've agreed to those things. But with all that said and done, this is $40,000 or $50,000 too high. It isn't going to be achieved. And I think to put something in front of them they can't do makes no sense to me. So I project 40 or 50,000, call it 45,000 less than this particular line. And if they do better, fine.
Yeah, I think to give them a realistic objective makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. They can't be straight line because certainly they're summer loaded, and I think I sent out an analysis where I showed how much was collected through May 30th of the prior 2 years and used that to sort of normalize or seasonalize these revenues. But certainly we could take it down to like 345. We have had some revenue sources we never expected and that we still haven't budgeted for because they're unpredictable. For instance, year to date we have about $14,000 in fundraiser revenue, and yet I haven't put a line item in for that because hopefully that trend will continue, but I don't want us to count on it. So, but yeah, I have no problem lowering.
Why don't you go to the
this
342, the budget or your projection number, just to use that. That'd be a good number. The other one, it's only 10,000.
Could we just make a note on that and bring that back on Thursday and have a conversation with Rob about that?
Sure.
The other is now, we're not talking about cutting out of the recreation department at this point. We're just saying that we need to supplement that revenue because that'll still come from general fund, whatever the shortfall is.
It would just lower the unappropriated surplus.
Correct.
Well, I think Rob is kind of the expert as to what would come in from the recreation. I know we did change some fees.
We did.
We did.
And add rental on, I guess, the structures that doesn't go to the recreation, does it?
It does, and
It
that's
does?
actually under
I thought it was a separate line item.
recreation rentals is
Yeah.
down there. Yeah, 362000114.
Still carries their label.
Recreation rental is going to straight line at 131. Its actual is 139. It's projected at 127 this year. The budget's 152. I'm not arguing about the 152, but you got $15,000 or $18,000 stretch in that too. So I mean,
Yeah.
leave the number as it is, but change one number anyway. Let's make it
Or
a
just
little easier.
acknowledge that, we've got some real stretch targets there. I don't know.
That's all. And it's fine to talk to Rob about it. I won't have changed my mind, but
I just like an explanation.
right. Well, that's fair.
Just want a confirmation on the contributions to the electric fund and also what we're seeing from the sewer, or I guess it's solid waste. But on the electric fund, this 2.3% increase is just based on an increased revenue in electric, and that we're not increasing our percentage of contribution, our transfer.
That is
That's what I
correct.
want to-
6% across the board for all enterprise.
Thank you.
You know, when Cindy's got a good bit of rhetoric about, how 6% plays into other utilities in the state and all the rest of it, and I buy that. One of the conversations I do want to have when we talk about electric is, where we go in the future and years beyond this particular year. Is, a transfer the best way of handling it? There are other ways that it might be handled to get a return on asset, but for this particular year, you'd have to be solemn and to be wise enough to deviate from the 6%. And, the 6% is catch as catch can, because the reality is the revenue may not be that good, and we're still going to take this number of dollars,
No, sir, it'll still be the 6%.
Well, in other words, this number could roll downward.
Yeah, we use the budgeted amount.
You're
And
going to use the budget amount. So what I'm saying is 6% could really be a higher number, or it could be a lower number. I'd be prejudiced
Yeah,
to
'cause
think
the
it would
rates-
be lower.
and actually, in the past year, it turned out to be lower because the revenues went up, because expenses went up and we had some rate increases. So, yeah, we haven't normalized it per quarter to what's actually 6% because it's up some years and down others. So,
But I think the thing for the public to understand is it is a cogent and intelligent approach as a return on the investment, and it is consistent with what others do in the state. And so 6% of the revenue is forecasted. Jim and I had this discussion back and forth, and I think we'll know a lot more about revenue. There'll be another rate study that Cindy will do, and hopefully we'll go forward with what we've authorized as far as looking at the electric, and we'll learn from that as to rates and revenues and efficiencies and so on. So I think at this point we accept the 5640, but there's got to be a better way of doing it.
and this also was a subject of discussion, and it was one of the items on that SWOT analysis of the Finance Commission Chairman's recommendations. We have had this conversation with Finance. We'll be having it with the Utility Commission, and our plan is to take that whole package, staff's analysis, the Finance Commission vote, and the Utility Commission vote, and bring that to Council in August so we can have some more conversation about this 6% transfer, the peer studies, and the basis for it. So.
Same goes for the marina. Is that 6%?
6%.
Unappropriated surplus. Can you give us a discussion on that one?
Remember, a minus number is a good number. So what that essentially means is at this point, as this budget sits with none of the changes, even the little ones we've talked about today, you have an extra $170,000 as compared to last year when you had about an extra $227. Certainly I think that's a reasonable, and Jim can speak to this too, a reasonable bit of breathing room, given that things change over the year, and or is available for other changes you might want to make in the budget.
And as an example, if we do reduce the revenue in the recreation, assuming that the state revenues cover a little bit of it, then we would also be taking it out of that number.
Yeah.
I just want to go back real quick with local option gas tax. Is that a flat charge per gallon, or is that a percentage?
I believe that's a like a number of cents on the gallon kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
number of
then-
cents per gallon.
So if the
It's
gas
not a
prices go up,
percentage
we
of the
don't-
price.
Yeah,
No.
it's a sales tax essentially, and it goes up and down with gas prices and collections, but it also is predicated on our portion of the sharing based on some formulas with the county and road miles, et cetera. So, but that is an estimate that's prepared by the state and not by us based on the adopted rates as well as the sharing percentages that are agreed to with the county. So.
It's my understanding it's a flat cent per gallon that is sold, not a percentage of the pricing.
I have nothing further. Does anyone have anything further?
No, other than, I guess before we get into, final review, whatever, I would ask Ms. Larson to go over our reserve positions so that when we're looking at, any possible millage rates that we all appreciate what we have in reserves.
Yeah, very good idea.
Chat about that now a little bit, or up to you.
Wait, I don't think.
Throw out a
there's-
number, or okay.
Well, like Kevin, the news is good, so I don't blame your interest in it.
I
But
do.
yeah.
I want to say it. I'm desperate to
The,
say it.
the news is pretty good. We built a pretty solid foundation.
It's a nice change. So tomorrow, Mr. Mayor, with their schedule be police, planning, capital fund. Mr. Connor, do you want to do any changing in this, just because of how efficient we've been in reviewing budget?
If we want to spend virtually all day tomorrow, what we could do is move electric fund and risk management around for tomorrow as well.
Or what about
Move up the little ones.
moving up the little ones? Electric
Yeah,
is going to be a struggle.
I agree. That needs specific attention.
So you want to move marina, solid waste, cemetery?
Yeah, I think those will have far less discussion than electrical. I agree with you.
You want to leave pull the recreation up too, or leave that for Wednesday?
No, pull that up.
Pull it up to?
Moving all of Thursday up to Tuesday?
I believe that's the
I
plan.
think that's the plan.
Okay.
And so instead of Friday, you want to try to do the wrap-up on Thursday?
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, if we can do that. I'd
We
work.
will have gotten halfway to next year's 2-year goal, right?
Maybe we can do it on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the electric will. It's the to be cliche, the 2,000-pound gorilla in the room.
All right, so what we'll do is move Friday to Thursday and Thursday to Tuesday, and we'll leave Wednesday for the electric and risk management.
Okay, if I hear no further business, I'll call for an adjournment.
Thank you.
Third.
Okay, we're adjourned.